Okay, so this activity is all about self-expression and obviously related to the theme of getting unstuck. The items that you need for this activity would be a journal. If you don't have a journal or a notebook, you can use like an A4 sheet. You need watercolors, a bowl to mix colors or a palette to mix different tones. You need water, brushes, glue, a pen, and magazines or newspapers that you find inside of your home. So don't worry too much about what type of magazines you pick. And if you want to help yourself for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, then that would be helpful to kind of get into a calm mood. This activity involves 3 steps. It involves writing, it involves painting, and it involves collaging. So we'll first start off with the writing stage. So after you're kind of in a calm mood and you're kind of in a quiet space with no distractions, what you need to do is just grab your pen and just start writing without stopping. So it doesn't really matter what you're writing, just keep on going until you fill in most of the pages. So I will start doing some writing myself. Also, don't take any notice of like the handwriting, it doesn't have to be neat. Okay, so for me personally, what comes up here is, because it's the new year, it's the start of 2021, I've done some writing around last year and what's to come, namely lots of unknown. So I've kind of talked a little bit about where I stand emotionally about what's to come this year. So the idea now is to have a read through what I've done and then circle the things and words that stand out the most. So the words that stood out for me here are excitement, art, nervous, scared, worried, present, and positivity. So it's a mixture of positive as well as challenging or negative feelings. In the next step, you take a brush, and in this next step, we will cover the words that were encircled so that the remaining words would be just the ones that I've previously circled. So don't worry about being neat. It's okay to get a little bit messy, to blend colors together, and to add more layers of paint if you want to. So as I'm painting, I'm also thinking about these words that are sticking out for me and why I got very drawn to them, and obviously I wasn't planning that these words will come out. So it's just also quietly reflecting on these words as you cover the rest of the page. And as you can see, nothing of this was planned, so there's always that element of surprise. Okay, so while that dries, and obviously I'm still thinking about those words, you can move on to your magazines. And in this step, just take your time to browse through all the magazines, put on some music. Like, there is no rush to finish this, so you can take as much time as you want to. You could be drawn to words, you can be drawn to pictures, you can just cut off patterned pieces that you find you are drawn to, and just, don't overthink too much about what is happening. So for me, for example, I've just got drawn to this statement. And Also, don't worry too much about cutting the perfect piece of paper. You might also cut out a lot of pieces, but not necessarily use them all. So I'm not planning to maybe use all of these. It's just a matter of seeing what you're attracted to at this point, not thinking too much about the end results. As you're doing this, there's something really calming about sitting down, slowing down, and just being with yourself and not having to think about all the things you need to do. So that in itself is really, really powerful, more than we think. So after you're happy with your cuttings, and hopefully your painting here would be dry enough, just kind of play around a little bit with the cuttings that you've selected. You might want to trim them, cut little pieces off. And then take the glue and just play around where you might want to place the pictures. You could also experiment with layers, so putting different papers on top of each other. So for example, I've just put 2 cuttings on top of each other here. And just play. It's important to kind of let go and not judge what you're doing. It's nice to know that there's no right or wrong in what you're doing for once. Puts off a lot of pressure. So you might not know why you picked a particular picture or cutting or color, and that's okay. Like the main aim here is to really see what comes up for you, what you're drawn to, and the idea is to learn something about yourself eventually, but you might not have all the answers, and that's really okay. Also, it might take you a while to know when you're really finished. You could probably carry on and on and on, cutting and gluing. That's kind of what the end result would look like. And feel free to do maybe some more writing after you've finished this, and just observe kind of what the result looks like. And I've got a collage that I did, a similar one that I did a few months ago. I've done some writing over the cuttings, so I think it's a great way to keep going and adding new layers. Like I added spots and lines and more writing. And then after I finished this, I've kind of did more writing for myself, and I found this really, really powerful. So that's it. And as you can see, you don't need much to do something like that. And all the materials that I've used are very basic, and magazines can be stocked in your house and piled up for quite a long time, so it's a good opportunity to make use of them.